Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, broadcasting live via Spencer's YouTube. Love it. We'll see if how it's working. It's always a little slow when you first start out because you want to make sure that everything is working perfectly. And we're checking our feed to see if we are a go. I see we've got 2 minutes counting down on my side. Spencer, what are you seeing on your side?
Same 2 minutes here.
2
So
minutes.
for those of you that are here, if you're here,
Yeah, if anybody's here, we might see it. It might
welcome.
change when it goes that final 2 minutes. Because I think YouTube, if you use the timer on YouTube, YouTube will not start the broadcast until it comes on if you scheduled it on YouTube. These are all things that would not happen had you just used StreamYard, just FYI.
Sometimes there's things that you just have to learn the hard way. And that,
It's not to say that OBS,
sometimes you take people's advice and you learn the easy way, and sometimes you don't. And I'm willing and able to admit when I'm absolutely wrong.
I do see the lovely chat says that we're going live. So I love that. I got the chat there. I'm going to switch back and forth and just watch this timer. 60 seconds, moment of truth.
Yep.
Here we go. There's another way to connect this YouTube channel to StreamYard as well. And so there's one more way, but we'll try this and see what happens. It's waiting for Spencer Easton, so you have to tell it. You got to go into YouTube and tell it to go live.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, I see the sign now. It says waiting for Spencer Easton, October 28th at 11 a.m.
Well, doesn't that key give you the oh my gosh,
You would think. So I'd say go back into your
go live. Son of a gun. There's one way to learn things, and this is it.
Yeah.
Do it the hard way.
You're going to have to end this broadcast and probably try to
Looks like you're ready. Click here to start streaming. Go live. Going live.
Okay, then let's see if it's going to let this feed come through. We'll wait the obligatory 10 seconds as we come in. Technology. So many things to learn. Did you click that go live?
Yep, it says it's live.
Okay, so it's hot. Hot mic.
We should.
Here we go. The obligatory 10 seconds as we come in. There we go. Technology. So many things to learn. Let me kill this audio. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live stream. Spencer Easton, say hello to everybody.
How you guys doing today?
Yeah, so we want to start off. Everybody get in the comments on and often. We've got the comments. We'll have the comments live on the screen on the left. This is a journey of continuous improvement all the way to make this possible. We are so excited to have everybody here on the channel. We love seeing you all here. I love that it's actually working. We found the ways to work, right, Spencer?
We found a bunch of ways not to work, and then we found a way to work. So yes.
We found the way to work. I mean, the real question is, can you hear this? That is the applause for getting started. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the stream. Without further ado, let's kick this show into high gear. We're going to get started right away. Why not begin at the beginning? So this is the beautiful roadmap journey that Spencer and I have taken with the amazing 2-second lean. And this is why you're here. You're here for the 2-second lean live stream book review, and you will get a chance to win your free signed book, signed by Spencer and myself. So you've got to participate in the chat. We've got the chat live on the screen, and so far it's just Spencer and I, but we'd start slow and work that magic. I've got a small agenda here, Spencer. You know that I came prepared. We're going to give this mural to everybody watching so that when you want to do a study action team, you can follow our journey with your team. It's up to you. So I've got a nice little quote here from the two of us. Spencer, can you read that quote? What's that say?
Life is a journey. Enjoy the adventure.
That's right. And for some of us, it's a fight. And for others, it's not. So people, check it out. Design and construction ideas do absolutely work. And Paul Ackers, when he wrote this book, he starts off, Spencer, talking about 10 years of a lean journey before he published the book and wrote the book. And he had quite a significant amount of construction experience in residential home building and restoring historic properties. So people, 2 Second Lean has a heavy construction background and foundation. So there's the directions there. Read the book. There's a link on this mural. You'll be able to click this. I will drop this mural link for everyone to get access to at some point, either during this live stream or at the end of it. But you will get access to this, and we'll share it on social media as well. Step 2, learn from myself and Spencer and get started today or continue your journey if you're not there. And we'll come back to additional resources in a second. So I just want to get back to the overall map, and let's dive right in. In the beginning, Spencer, we used Scrum to totally make this whole thing, which I'm super proud of. This is a screenshot from our Trello Scrum board that we used to make this happen. And I told Spencer, nothing will stop this sprint from occurring. Was I not right, Spencer?
100% correct.
So let's go into the intro. So in the chat, if you're watching us live, what's up, Eric and Shelly? So good to see you. Love to see that you guys are there. And you can see the comments are right there live. We want people to go ahead while Spencer and I chitter chatter talk here. We want you in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay later, it doesn't matter. The chat is going to be open 24/7. Tell us where you are and if you've read or used ideas from 2 Second Lean while you're in there. So Spencer, tell us where you are and give us just one little sneaky peeky 2 Second Lean thing that you've done while people are blowing a chat up.
Love it. So this whole thing came about because I issued a 90-day challenge on YouTube. And because the people that I interact with either are bought in or they're not. And for those that are not, it's always like well, why are you wanting to, what we've been doing is fine. We're making plenty of money. It's like status quo, like what we're doing works, right? And so it was interesting to me to hear people's reaction to, well, shouldn't we be improving? And some people don't think we should. Like, it's like, I don't personally understand that. That's because I had an aha moment. And for me, it happened with 4 books, and 2 Second Lean was one of them. So that the whole idea of the 90-day challenge was to read 4 books in 90 days and see if it changes your mind, because those are the books that changed my mind. And so Paul Ackers, like Felipe talked about, heavy in construction early in his career, and that's what he had experience in. And there was a problem that he saw in the industry. When he would screw into cabinetry, it would leave that screw hole. And like, how do you really finish that up? And so like he invented a product called the Fast Cap. And it was a little sticker that went over it that had the same finish as the rest of the whatever it was, a countertop or piece of millwork, whatever it was, right? And so
Right.
he started selling that to the world, and that little improvement, that little 2 Second Lean improvement, that was the beginning of 2 Second Lean. He didn't know it at the time because he had no idea what lean was. And in the beginning of his book, he even talks about how he shared the manuscript with somebody and a prominent author, and they said, what the hell is lean? And so
Exactly. True quote.
he had didn't even have a clue about what it was at the time. And the journey that he goes through, he really outlines really well in the book to show how just focusing on respect for people and continuous improvement gets us to a better state, period.
Absolutely. So that's our journey. So we started off, Spencer and I, using 2 Second Lean, and then we scrum this because, Spencer's with me, it's going to happen. So we're going to continue on our journey. And, right away, if you read this book, you come to this fork in the road, and you can either apply the ideas, which Spencer and I did, like Paul did, or you can just be blocked and the ideas die in the book and you don't bring them to real life. And I say where the ideas die in the book, and I don't want to make fun or make light of traditional project management. So this is the road unblocked. So if you're on this path now and you've heard this phrase, we've always done it this way, congratulations, you're doing traditional project management and you have a massive opportunity to apply some of these ideas. So we're going to road trip away from traditional project management right now And here we are at a crossroads, and we're starting with Paul's book. We're going to go in chapter by chapter. And I love, Spencer, this chat is blowing up. People, I love to see people on that. And Adam Hoots right there, loving the concepts. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Eric Shelley. So many people from the Bolt Company supporting this live today, watching at work. And we've done this program, Spencer. I didn't even tell you this in the prep. It's called Small Wins, based on 2-second lean improvement. So shout out to all my brothers and sisters across the Bolt Company, whole Bolt family. So proud to be part of a company that embraces the idea of making small improvements every single day. But here we've got in this mural, you'll have access to get all this free 2-second lean stuff. Let's start at the first stop here, Spencer. Stop number 1, the first 6 chapters. Paul says in the beginning, like you said, what the hell is lean? His number 1 takeaway guidance from chapter 1 was, your pride will blind you. Now, keep in mind, all of us here, if you work in the construction industry today, whether you're digging holes or you're an executive in the C-suite, all of us have experiences that can classify us in certain situations as, for some of us, genius level, and for others, at least expert or subject matter expert in what you do. Because you label yourself that way, Paul is telling you, like it happened to him, that was a blocker for him to change and be open to learning. And so the number 1 thing in chapter 1 with what is lean, like I'll tell you, spoiler alert, Paul doesn't give the definition of lean in chapter 1. It's just like a get you ready. The definition comes later, but he says, open yourself up to learning. There's more potential there. I'm always coming at things with the child's perspective. Like, where's the play here? What's the game? How can I understand this as a system? Like, how can we have fun with this, right? How can we make it better? And of course, all of you know, because this is absolutely an EBFC type of show, and we love to just build things better. Lean construction and Scrum let that happen. So let that scroll for a second, Spencer. What did you pick out of the first couple chapters here?
So like you put on here, the pride will blind you. That I find is a lot of our problem, my problem, like everyone's problem. When you have experience in construction or when you have experience doing something, your first instinct is, I know what I'm doing, right? And
Right.
when he allowed 2 young kids to come into his plant, and he was asking them how could he improve his inventory systems, they said, you have no idea what you're talking about. He had a fork in the road opportunity. Either whatever, you guys don't know what you're talking about, or okay, tell me, like, what could I improve, and then try to learn from whatever feedback you're getting, right? Like those are the 2 options, at least that I see. Either not take the feedback or take the feedback. And I love how Paul does hit that point home with the one thing, right? He says that your pride will blind you. And if he would have been prideful, FastCap would not be the company it is today. He would not have written this book. It's a domino effect of our actions being able to see where we're falling short or what's holding us back, and just accepting that we're not perfect and that we don't know everything, and that we can try something new every time to see if there's a better outcome by changing what we're doing. That gets us away from our blind spots and just opens up our opportunity to grow, right? But if we let our pride get in the way, obviously that can't happen. So
That's right. And then Paul also said, bring people with you. So invite people on your project to join in with you on applying these types of concepts. We'll get to One Piece Flow in a second. It's too juicy not to talk about. And this change is going to happen. Your attitude and philosophy to learning on the job and on your projects is going to heavily influence what you take with you and don't. The opportunity to improve, this is the little improvement thing, is massive. Paul was in complete disbelief in this first section of the book, where he thought, I know how to make it. The bank just told me I have the greatest operation. They'll loan me any amount of money. And when he brought in some lean experts, Brad, and I forget the other young person's name, that had worked at Toyota doing translation for English to Japanese, to look at his company and like give him real criticism on how good is his production, he had no idea that even something as basic as a machine turnover from 45 minutes could get down to 5 and later got down to less than 2. Now, getting into that flow, one piece flow and batch size are so interconnected, Spencer. And Spencer's got some great videos on his YouTube channel talking about that very topic. So I recommend all of you to hit that subscribe button. And you obviously better be subscribed to the EBFC show. Otherwise, why are you here? Right. So subscribe to Spencer's channel. There's some super good flow videos there. And that one piece flow concept, when I was first reading this book way back in the after 2010 thereabouts, at some point during that early part of the decade, a decade ago, Spencer, this look my gray hair show through here.
Wow.
I thought, how can we do smaller batch sizes on construction? Like, I looked at our schedule, and at the time when I read Paul's book, I was a project manager on a hard bid project. I thought, this is something I'm going to have to get some help. So after I read this chapter, we were doing a study action team on this hard bid job. I went to the field and I talked to some of the foremen, and I said, where are areas where we're having good flow and where are areas where we're having bad flow? Instead of being all theoretical in the conference room, I went right to the project and I heard from different trades: concrete trade, plumbing trade, drywall, exterior skin trades, roofing trade. I think some of the best answers that I heard in those early days of getting the knowledge in this chapter and then going to talk to people. I didn't tell like the grading contractor foreman, like, hey, I just read this book, 2-Second Lean. And I just said, hey, I've heard this idea of flow. Where do you see flow, good flow or bad flow in what you're doing? And the grader really schooled me down. Like, I felt like I got a PhD in one piece flow with the earthwork contractor. And Spencer, to this day, I love earthwork so much. They teach you right. So check this out. For those of you that don't know or get super excited about earthwork, and I love construction, the grader says, I want to touch a piece of dirt one time. And if I have to move it in, I'm getting paid. And if I have to move it out, I'm getting paid. And newsflash, people, most grading contractors get paid to touch dirt twice because they're either bringing it in or taking it out. And when they take it out, if it's good dirt, they can get paid to put that dirt somewhere else. I don't know any other trade that has that efficiency with their work like earthwork. So I just love that. And that whole idea of like this one piece flow. I think the grader said it to me. He's like, I've been in buildings after we finished. And he said, I think when you guys put the walls up, you lose the ability to see flow like you do when you're looking at an open field. And
Ooh.
I thought, oh my God. And see, people, this is the genius of the people on our sites. They're just waiting for you to go out there and engage with them. So in the first 6 chapters, big for me was go take these ideas and expose it to people in the field, at the front of the production, at the work face, and try these things out. Because you might find some people that are frustrated, which gets into chapter 5. Spencer, I know you got something on what bugged you. What was something that bugged you that you fixed after reading chapter 5?
That was actually one of my favorites, to tell you the truth. The the things that bugged me were, obviously, at the time I was in scheduling, and I got told quite frequently that my Mickey Mouse schedule was only good for toilet paper, and that it could be used to wipe you know what, and like it was
Yep.
graphically told to me like how useful what I was doing for a job was to the project teams. Like, not just like one. It wasn't like one like project team that was like crass about it. It was like kind of everybody. And it bugged me that like we spent so much time building, managing, updating, publishing, like all this time and effort on something that out in the field was just garbage and trash. And so like it really bugged me. Like, why? Well, at first I was like, well, what are they doing wrong? Like, I was like pointing the finger out, but then like ultimately it was, well, what can I change? I can only affect what I can affect, right? So
Right.
what can I do? What can I change? And I started looking at, well, is it how we're doing things? Maybe it needs to be a little bit more high level, maybe this or maybe that. And really started to morph how I approached what we did in planning and scheduling. And there's a lot of things there where it's like, well, contracts stipulate one thing, and contractors want another thing, and the superintendent wants something else, and like it's like all these combating ideas that are processes that we feel like we have to do for some reason or another the way we've always done them, right? And so I started looking at, well, is there a better way to do X? Is there something here in this process that I don't like, or and it turned into kind of a game. And when I was at a previous general contractor that I worked for, we in the scheduling department, we spent a whole lot of time trying to make that culture that Paul created in fixing what bugs you. And so I would share my screen of, okay, when I'm in P6 or I'm in CPM and I'm doing this, it's a pain when you get something from the superintendent saying, hey, make this one change. It's like, yeah, but there's 40 WBSs that have that same thing in it. So I have to like spend time unlinking things, taking stuff out, rebuilding that one section, linking it all back together 40 times. And so it's like, your one sentence is like a day and a half for me. But then it's like, just in how you do a process, are there things to increase, your productivity? How are you doing those things? Are you batching all that same thing over and over, so you have to touch that same activity? And so these concepts, while they apply to manufacturing, they apply to any process. And once you get there and you can see how it apply, how Paul Ackers and what he's describing in a manufacturing setting applies outside, which he does a good job. He talks about how he does it at home, right? And that's what was the aha moment for me. It wasn't just like, do this in your manufacturing plant. It was, no. This applies to every process in life. This applies to everything. And so once I started seeing that as well, everything is a process, then things really started. I could find the things that actually did bug me. And I was like, ooh, I hate that when we do that. So how do we improve that just a little, like that 2-second lean improvement, right?
Just make that little quick fix. Like one of the things that we had heard from the superintendents, like we're on this hard bid job. It's 85,000 square feet was the size of this project in Southern California. And the superintendent said, I'd really love it if I could be able to walk into the field with my iPad and pull up a drawing in a second. And I remember talking to one of our people that worked with in our virtual design and construction group, and I said, somebody's have solved this problem. And we found out using Bluebeam, just off the shelf Bluebeam, there's a hyperlinking feature if you set your files in a certain structure. And so we took the title sheet, and in less than 2 hours, we had the entire drawing set hyperlinked. And then we walked out with the superintendent. We're like, what do you want to see? He's like, let's test it. And so we handed him the iPad and we let him just touch, click, and open sheets. It was a game changer, Spencer. Yeah. We became like oracles. Like we'd walk into the field, and everybody, if they saw us with an iPad, they'd be like, hey, I got a question, come over here. And then we'd be pulling it up. So everybody with an iPad became like a walking drawing set. And we were engaging with the trades at such a deeper level with the documents. So that was a easy improvement. It wasn't a 2-second improvement. It took 2 hours, but that 2 hours saved us the trip back and forth to the trailer to where the drawings were. And it was some technology, Spencer, that we already had, which is incredible. So people, if you're watching this on the replay, the question we've asked you already in the chat is to tell us where you're calling in from or viewing this, and then to write what 2-second improvement have you used from Paul's book, 2-Second Lean, if you've used it at all. If this is the first time, we are modeling, Spencer and I, how you could do a book study or a study action team. And we will definitely give you access to this mural so you can use it. So we'd recommend small batches with your teams. You can read a couple chapters at a time, come together, talk about it, ask each other questions like Spencer and I are exactly doing right now. And then that continues the spark tied to the action, because you've got to do something. And in chapter 6, Paul just talks about going to Japan, and he did a study action journey where he went to go visit. and he talked to a gentleman from Lexus. But I'm going to just navigate away from those first couple of chapters. We're going to step our way down. Look at those beautiful steps into the next section here, chapter 7 through 12. Spencer, one of the first things I love about chapter 7 is Paul right away is like, he went to visit this company called Hawks, which sounds like Hawks, so hence the Hawks over there on the left. And they're like, they were in such dire straits that they could not do what we would consider basic lean 101 5S, or if you follow Henry Ford's can do, they're like, we can only do three things. And in the book, Paul a bunch of times says sweep, sort, standardize. So I just hand wrote it in there. But when I check it on the nerd lean webinar stuff standards, it's typically sort, sometimes is sweep, shine, and standardize. So nerds, where you're at, just this is what Paul said in the book. This is what checking with those say it is. So it's all there for you. But the basic thing was what I loved in chapter 7 is like, if we teach you something like 5S, like someone who's implemented it, for them, it's like breathing. They don't even think about it. If you've never implemented those 5 steps on your project, take it one step at a time. Start with just cleaning up or sweeping. It's literally that easy. I can't tell you that we had near injuries on the first project. We're reading 2-second lean. We had a lot of first aid incidents. Nobody got hurt. Luckily, there were no near misses, no incidents. We finished the project. Everyone was safe. But in the beginning, when we got out of the ground and we started doing superstructure, the project was filthy. And when we didn't know it was filthy, Spencer, until chapter 7, Think Like Hawks. And I remember walking out into a corridor and I was like, I can't even step. I'm probably going to roll my ankle. And I'm not carrying a tool. I'm just a management person walking the job. And so we had talked about this book as a team. We were doing a book study. And I asked the superintendent, you've done, buildings. This is a 30-year veteran. I said, is this cleanliness to your standard? And he said, it's not. And I was like, how can we engage with the trades without blame? How can we engage with the trades to clean this up? And we found out by asking, how can we engage? We, as the general contractor, did not provide adequate ways to eliminate the garbage. So we created an environment where people couldn't get the garbage out of the building. And so we fixed that problem and the building got clean. It was like magic. I mean, it was like, if I had to think of a sound effect of what I felt it was like, Spencer, it was like this. It was heavenly. Once that building got clean, if I would have known Jason at the time, I would have been like, okay, Jason, you can come visit my project. It's clean enough to pass the mustard test. How about you in these first couple chapters here, 7 through 12? What jumped out at you, Spencer?
So to feed it off the 3S thing, at first, again, I always find myself wanting to point the finger outward, and it's like, well, we need the trades to sweep, sort, and standardize. But when I started applying it inward, and it was, well, how does this apply to my position? I started to look at my desktop on my computer a whole lot differently. It was like, this is as messy as the job site is. So how am I to talk about these things? So it was like, well, I have to do that. And what about the inside of my truck or you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
Everything that you do can be 3S'd and improved and put into a state where you can be efficient and look for those improvements or find those things that bug you, right? A lot of times, the lean shops, you'll be using a tool that creates some sort of dust or something, right? And you have to continually clean that. Well, if you're in the habit of every day or very often going through and doing a 3S, well, you're doing that sweep or that shine and you're having to clean up that mess. That's going to bug you. It's like, I clean up the same dang mess at the same little pile, all the time. I have to reach over, move all this stuff out of the way, clean that up, vacuum it all out. How do I set up, how do we change that? And then it's like, okay, is there a way to put a dust control system on that tool or something, right? To gather whatever that is so that you don't have to do that, right? And that's that improvement where it's like, because it gets, the maybe the mound of sawdust or whatever it is gets so big you have to because it's a safety hazard. Well, that saves you time down the road because you found a way to have dust control. And these things sound like they're, well, obviously you would have dust control. Yeah, but do you really find those things that you have to continually fix? Are your tools and like your desk or like anything in disarray all the time that you have to sit and fix? That was something that I loved. But even before like the 3S, the concept of going from 5 to 3, Paul Ackers talks about the art of subtraction. I think he initially talked about it in chapters 1 through 6, but he brings it up heavily in chapter 7 when he's talking about hawks, because they really, really did apply that, where it's like, no, 5 things are hard to remember. Let's just do 3 things because that's very easy to implement. And that's a lean improvement, right? Because lean is all about the art of subtraction. How do we stop, we're wired, he says, to add processes. Oh, something's hard, let's add something else to fix that thing. It's like, no, it's not about the art of addition, it's about the art of subtraction, which I absolutely loved.
Oh, absolutely love. I think that is confetti worthy for sure. So let's drop confetti on the art of subtraction. And I think another thing in chapter 8, where he talked about let's build a lean culture. For a lot of people, there's a lot of misconceptions on the word lean. And I've talked about this on multiple live streams and multiple shows, but if you're just joining for the first time, lean is not an acronym that stands for less employees are needed. Even though Spencer was just talking about the art of subtraction, lean is a mindset of learning. And Paul studied for a decade. I've studied these concepts for, wow, like almost 15 years now. Spencer, you've been on the journey for as long as a period. And so you come to understand, like, there's a lot of things that it could be. And my industrial engineers out there, don't get mad, because this is a whole movement. Like, don't get mad. It's part of morphing together with this continuous improvement movement. But this mindset of lean is a mindset of learning and agility, being able to adapt to your environment and how things are changing. And I love how the chat is blowing up, and Spencer is interacting with you all in the chat. Oh my God, Kate's in the chat. So good to see you, Kate. So great to see so many people supporting from all over. Yeah, it's not too late to tell us how you've engaged with lean. It looks like there's somebody, Spencer, already threatening to win that free copy of the book in the chat right now, but it could still be anybody's game. So now, talking about how do you build a lean culture? How do you build a culture of learning? At Paul's company, he was the boss. A lot of lean thinkers has talked about this concept, and you don't need the CEO of your company to embrace lean. I've seen a lot of people on LinkedIn make comments on lean posts saying, if management doesn't buy in, I can't do it. And that's absolutely false. That's a lean myth. You can apply these concepts within your span of control. You control your environment, and you don't realize this. You are highly influential, way beyond just putting your arms around yourself and what you can control. People are watching you all the time. Family, coworkers, friends, combination of all those, just you out in the community, how you walk and show up on your projects, how you engage with tradespeople, how you talk to architects and designers, how you do or don't talk to the client. All of those things are influencing the culture that you're in. So if you're in a culture that's not a lean culture, it starts with you. And we started on our job. One of the things that we fixed to change the culture, people had complained, Spencer, that on this particular job where we're reading 2-second lean, like, we didn't have snacks for the workers, and the cabinets that we had in the trailer didn't have handles, and people were like annoyed that you had to like reach your hand in. So one day I came in and I just installed cabinet handles in the kitchen, and people were like, my boss at the time was like, that's kind of silly. Like, no one's going to appreciate that. And I was like, I'm not doing it to get appreciation. I'm doing it because I want to show people that we respect them. And people, not one person, not 2 people, Spencer, but like more than 8 people had complained to get the cabinet door to pop open was like painful. And so putting the pulls made a difference. Later, the concrete superintendent told me, he said, his name was Craig. I'm never going to forget Craig. Craig said, when you guys were doing all that 2-second lean stuff in the trailer, he's like, at first I thought it was stupid and a waste of time. But when you put the cabinets on, you put the the pulls on the cabinetry. It's like, now I knew you were serious because a lot of people hated that. And you did something about it. And then you started coming into the field and talking to us about what can we do to make your work easier. He's like, I've been putting concrete in place for over 20 years. And in 20 years, not one manager has ever come out and asked, what can we do to make your work easier, until now, 20 years later. And I was like, thank you, Paul Ackers. Right? Because if we had not read that book, Spencer, like when Paul took it to in his company and spread it around his employees, in the story, it's like one sentence. You know, some people didn't like it. They didn't like that transparency. Some people wanted to just come to work and just barely do it, and they left and they went to go work somewhere else. And that's okay, people. Some people are going to like this and some are not. I always say, like, Jake, if you're listening to this, as you promised you would be, meet people where they are, Jake. That's a whole nother live stream separate there. But before I jump off, Spencer, what do you offer people? Chapter 11, how did they get started?
Well, it's really in do something right now. Like look at what you're doing in whatever capacity and set the bar, right? Because Paul Ackers in the book, he talks about how the 2 seconds
Right.
improvement, like anyone can look at a process and be like, how can I take like 2 seconds out of that? Like we're talking about like 45-minute, hour-long like processes. How do you take 2 seconds out of it? The bar's so low that anyone can do it. It's like what Kate says right here. She really loves how easily applicable it is to everyone and everything, like desktop organization, like we were talking about, right? It makes the lean journey so much more appreciable, right? Like it's just because it's so easy, and because all you're doing is trying to improve. Like that is what lean is at the core, right? Is like, can you improve? So anyone that's not like up for like improving like something, like yeah, you're not gonna like lean. But like that's how you start, is you set the bar to what's extremely achievable. So for me, like learning from Paul, like not to make it this huge Kaizen event where we're going to take something, we're going to make it fit in the box type thing. It's no. Let's every day, often look at how can we improve this process. Even this live stream, we were, this early this morning, we were testing some things, and there were some incremental like, well, no, that's not working. Let's make an improvement here. Let's make an improvement. And ultimately, we're here on Felipe's platform because we were following that same process of, let's improve this, let's improve that. And we got it to where it's okay, but we wanted it better. And hence now you're hearing us both on this beautiful live stream because we are living that 2 second lean process.
Absolutely. It's absolutely a true story, people. And I told Spencer when we were getting ready, and we met, like you can see, I'll flip back to where we were in the planning with Scrum. Like we tested this. There was time where we got together and we laid all this out. We tested, and Spencer said, this is the first time I'm going to use this type of thing. And I said, ooh, we should do an extra test. And he did some testing on his own. He came back to me. And then when it was showtime, literally 60 minutes to live, when the pressure went the highest, the audio didn't work. Spencer and I both updated our operating systems last night or a day ago. And technology doesn't stay in sync. And so we had to change. And I told Spencer, I was like, don't worry. I was playing Under Pressure. If you know the song, you know the song on Spencer as we were doing some audio checks. But that's just proof positive. Like we kept it lighthearted. We kept laughing. We kept trying different things. And we just were not going to fall victim to just, well, I guess, this is the only way we can do it. And just get stuck and cancel the show. No way, people. Nothing will stop this sprint. So the adventure continues. Now we're going to journey on to the next chapters. I'm going to walk this way.
I'm going to read 2 comments right here as you get that prepped and ready. Justin said the concepts can take root better if they are started at the project level. Seeing the results will engage others to learn more and try new things, which is absolutely true.
Absolutely true. I love the comments. People, we love the chat. And if you're watching this on the replay, Spencer and I will be monitoring this chat in the future, and we will engage with you. So please keep the comments coming. We love it. So here in chapters 13 to 18, chapter 13, Paul talks about humble lean. And so humble lean, I'm going to zoom in here to the emoji. You have to open yourself up to listen to feedback from others. Sometimes we call it constructive criticism. And it can be very hard. If you're not used to getting feedback from people around you, it can be very challenging. And a lot of people watching this live right now, you work at very large companies. And in most large and design, construction, engineering, interior companies, don't care what kind of construction, most construction companies, at least in the United States, do annual performance reviews where you have a feedback once a year. You get feedback once a year. So in our building industry, our feedback loop is way too long. And by the time 12 months roll by, your manager, supervisor is only going to pull from memory things that are recent. And so we tell you, and Paul's saying it here in this humble lean, like you've got to seek out and get feedback more often. And even more important, when you get the feedback, don't argue. Just take it. Take the feedback in, reflect on it, and then decide what do you do with it. I was talking about this in a post on LinkedIn earlier this week when someone was saying like and I'm not going to name names, so we'll let the guilty be guilty, but they were accusing people of not doing anything with feedback. And I disagreed. And I said, you've got to separate the signal from the noise. Like, as you know, we're making videos and we're creating content, Spencer and I, pretty regularly. And we get comments and feedback, and we use that information to change what we do. And the same on projects. When you're on a project, when you're putting work in place, you're getting feedback on your billing, the work you put in place. You're getting feedback on, punch list items, inspections. Inspectors are giving you feedback. The client walking the building, the trade showing up. When people come to your trailer, are they the welcomingness of like how it is? Like there's all these opportunities. And so just remember what Paul said, like stay humble and be open to it. And sometimes just take it in. Don't argue with people. Just take it in, say thank you, and then you decide how you want to experiment to make that better. What do you have to add on chapter 13 or 14, Spencer?
So to me, the best thing about lean is the ability to take the feedback as a gift. And this goes back to the very beginning, right? Where it's like your pride will blind you. So
Yeah,
it's kind of that reoccurring, well, what we're doing right now is not utter perfection, period. And so if there's a better way, it will make our lives easier. It'll make it better. So if we're humble enough to admit that there is a situation, a reality that we could achieve if we're humble and take that feedback and improve, then I mean, what's not to love about a better, brighter future? Like if I
exactly.
if I take an exact 50-hour work week and go through and do all my processes and I can fit it within and like get home and that's fine. Well, that's great. But if I can fit that 50-hour work week into 45 and spend 5 hours improving myself, well, is my life better? Like I'm talking about being able to go to the gym and not just wake up, hit the alarm clock, run out the door to the job site, get there, start the firefighting until it's way past time. You miss the stuff with the family, drive home, it's late. You make yourself your own dinner or have to heat it up because you weren't there on time. Like all those things. Like that's what we're used to. But a better, brighter future is being able to get that same amount of work done in a smaller amount of time by the same amount of people, but be able to enjoy a work-life balance. Like that sounds like utter paradise to me. And so like that's the thing that's holding us back is our ability to be humble, right? And accept that feedback and actually go from there.
Absolutely. And then the next section here, he talks about the three pillars of lean. I put them on there. So for Paul, and he's made this is unique for fast cap. So for Paul, he said these are the three pillars. My lean nerds out there, we'd be like, they're two pillars. There's two. But right, but at Paul at fast cap, he says there are three. The first one he says is people need to be able to see waste. And there's been a ton of information coming out about the 8 major types of waste. Some people like to remember them all with Tim Wood, and you have to add the U at the end to get the 8th waste. Some people like to use the acronym downtime. And so pick up the book, people. We'll put a link in the chat so you can go to Paul's site. You could get this book for free in so many different ways: audio, PDF, Kindle, whatever way you can get it. There's like 20 different ways to get this book for free off of his site. But on the flip side of the seeing waste is you have to understand value first, so you can discern what is worth doing and then what is not. And so I really love that. And you can get wrapped around the axle on just seeing waste. And there's been memes about this, like, I see waste everywhere. Think of like the kid from The Sixth Sense.
I see dead people. Yeah.
Exactly the same. And I see those as opportunities. Like, you just recognize when we're suboptimal flow. Anytime you see flow hindered, you're going to see the 8 wastes, some or all of them. So that's Paul's first thing that he taught his people, to recognize the wastes so you stop doing it, because the 8 wastes are things that if you stop doing, nobody would get mad. That's an instant capacity builder. So that's one of the things that I loved about this chapter on recognizing waste, is that when you stop doing those things, you open up your day to do value producing things instead, which I love. And then he said the second pillar for FastCap is that everybody does continuous improvement 24/7, 365 days a year. It is a condition of employment at FastCap. You have to be engaged in continuous improvement. And I thought that is amazing. So that's helping to reinforce this culture of learning. If we're improving stuff all the time, making things easier and better, hello, you're probably, like, if you're hanging out with me, you're probably doing lean construction and Scrum. And like, just like Spencer, this whole thing we're doing right now has been Scrum the whole time. It's still Scrum even right now. So there are easier, better ways to build. And like Paul said, everybody do it all the time. It's fun. It's a game. And the last pillar for people at FastCap, I don't know if you can tell, Spencer, what is this? Do you remember what this one is?
Videos, wasn't it? Take short videos.
Exactly. Make videos. Yeah. Paul
It's really,
says,
it's less about the videos and more like sharing. To me, it's a culture of sharing. Now that's their median to
right.
share, right? Is that, okay, I'm working on this process. Let me shoot a little quick video, just like grab my phone and do a little quick video. Okay, I was doing it like this, and it took 50 seconds. And now if I move this like this, kind of add, whatever, like make a little ramp here, whatever it is, right, in their little processes, and then they shoot it, and they're like, now it's 45 seconds. Like, this is now the new standard. Like, what do you guys think, right? And then they would share those in the morning meetings. And that shared learning was just like infectious, and more and more people would share videos. I actually have a really good example of how doing shared videos in a team can really be helpful. So when I was scheduling department manager, we started to try to do this, and we had everyone shoot videos and do like, oh, okay, you guys know how this process works. Well, I spent some time thinking about it, and like, why are we doing this step? And if we did this instead, right? And we started getting a lot of different videos about, how to use Excel or P6 or like all these different processes that us as schedulers, we always used. And what happened is that the knowledge base of everybody started to rise, because some of us weren't really versed well in Excel, but others were really experienced in Excel, and others weren't, super, P6 users, and they're just kind of newer, and they would learn through others showing that, okay, here's a better way. And it's like, oh, I've been trying to figure out how to make that work better. And so that makes sense. So that culture of learning, that culture of sharing, what things bug us and improving, helps to create better standards and helps to rise that knowledge base for everybody.
And when that knowledge base rises for everybody, from the organization's perspective, just hit the jackpot. You hit the jackpot, because now you've got everybody's skill set is increasing, and everybody rises. My friend Cromwell, shout out to Cromwell, I miss you, buddy. He said, if you want to get ships to go smoothly through the harbor, rising tides raise all ships. And he didn't make that phrase up, but he just made it popular. He said it quite a bit. So you think about that. If you're making videos and sharing these improvements with each other, just even if it's only internal among yourselves, Like I want to give a shout out to my friend Brian Melcher and the whole Field Verified crew. They've got a ridiculous WhatsApp where they're constantly shooting videos and sharing with each other quick little snippets and things. And I think that's created a culture of like high engagement and also helping to show standards for the work. And then they take some of those and they make them part of their onboarding. So when they bring new people in, they've got videos that show from the voice of their own people what the standards are. It's so easy. And Brian is an amazing
He
person.
really is.
I heard from Ryan. I got to hang out with him at the quality conference a bit ago, and Ryan and Mo were saying that he's got such an eye for video because he started it first. He's like, let me do this first, and then he opened it up to other people on his team, and now everybody at Field Verified makes videos and puts videos out. I saw just this morning. Shout out to Rolando. Rolando put out a video this morning of Dallin high-fiving a roofer on a building. Hashtag no leaks, Brian. See, I'm paying attention. I was up early this morning. So the other good thing here in these later chapters, freaking good questions. So this concept of using questions to see like, are things better? I mean, you can ask, if you don't know where to start, you can just always say, how can we make this better? As an open question, non-leading questions. Humble inquiry is what Paul's going after here. And the questions that he received inside of FastCap with his people and teams was exactly what helped him to transform and go to a whole nother level. And so that concept of good questions, I think that's something that you can take away. If you're reading this and like, I don't have time to read this whole book, jump right to chapter 15 and steal these questions from Paul and use these on your project. You will see dramatic changes right away. If you ask someone a question like Spencer is a proficient and probably prolific scheduler at one point. Now he's morphed into this, creature of many talents now. But at one point, he was like the P6 guy, right? So if I told Spencer like, hey, after every time he does an entry and just said, why don't you just hit F9 after every time you hit enter? I'm basically telling Spencer, I'm shutting down his creativity. I'm shutting down his ability to answer. And I'm just telling him, like, do it the way I'm telling you. When you ask a leading question, you're telling the person, you're dumb. You're dumb. You just do it the way I told you. Why are you so dumb?
Just do it the way I tell you, dang it.
Yeah. And just because you use a what in front of that statement makes you a jerk. Don't be a jerk. So ask humble questions and listen to why people do things the way they do. Maybe he doesn't do it for a certain reason, that extra keystroke after so many things, or, the logic is not going to update until he gets to the end of a fragnet if he's doing a schedule. See, people, I know P6. I've done some P6 scheduling. Watch out. But I would say, like, ask questions with real curiosity, not dictating to somebody a solution. As our friend Jesse says, don't be a solutionator. It's going to get you into trouble.
Ooh, that's so good. That's so good. Because people are at different like parts of their journey. Like they might come to agree with your stance. Maybe you have a better way. But it's not about like telling people what to do. It's
Right.
about helping people grow, right? So instead of telling someone go do this thing that I tell you to do, that's easy command and control like mentality, right? The better long-term solution is to help everybody learn, help everybody grow. And by opening the door to saying, well, maybe is there a better way to do it, instead of saying do it this way, is there a better way to do it? This seems like a hard thing. Asking questions like Paul said, like Felipe was talking about, it's not necessarily do it my way or else. It's letting people take that journey, because then they'll come to the conclusion either on their own or find something better. For instance, Felipe was talking about the F9 thing. Like early on in my CPM career, I tell people I'm a recovering CPM expert. I would have like been really upset if somebody told me to hit the F9 button like frequently.
That's
but
why I use
my
that.
lean journey, like by the end, it was like you couldn't see the words F9 on the keyboard because I was doing one piece flow.
Yep.
With how I did CPM scheduling, not necessarily the schedule itself. Like that was like That's a whole nother set of like problems. But like how I actually did the steps in P6, I did one piece flow. I was like, okay, in my processes, what I can control, how do I do this? And that was one of the things, is figuring out how to batch things less instead of like doing this whole thing and then having to go through again, like the crazy things you have to do if you manage it a certain way. And you can do it a thousand different ways. So
Right.
figuring out how to get to one piece flow in any process is can help someone get to that better state, or like teaching principles, like sharing what has helped you, not necessarily with that specific task, maybe in something else, can help, enlighten someone to, oh, okay, I can see how that applies for me in my situation, or helps them just question, and maybe they'll find something like 2-second lean or something else to help them get to that next level, right?
That's right, baby. That's right. So let's keep on our journey. So at the last part here, before we cross over the bridge, and the final chapters 19 to 24, for me, Spencer, I don't know about for you, this was all about put the book down and get out there and go do it. So like this whole final section. And then the last part, take a tour. On our project where we finished that book study, we invited other construction teams in the same company, come see our job. And we told people, like, we're going to have tours through here, and we're going to let people come. We're going to tour anywhere. Anything was on limits, no off limit, anything. And we answered questions about what we transformed. And we finished that job 1 month ahead of schedule, 0 claims. The construction manager said of all the design, bid, build, hard bid projects, they had expected this job to go into claims and litigation, and it ended claim free. Now,
Boom.
disclaimer, it's also the first project I use Scrum on too. What a coincidence.
Ooh.
So for you,
Chicken or
like,
the egg? I love
yeah,
it.
what's your story as you came out of the book? What did you go do when you finished the book?
I'll go off the tour ordeal as well. When I started in the scheduling department, I've talked about this a lot, so I'll go back to it. The thing that was upsetting to me is we were treated like the redheaded stepchildren of the company. Like we were the outcasts. There was 3 of us, and this was like a $1 billion a year company. It wasn't like a teeny tiny small GC. This is a mid-sized, larger company, right? So
Right.
it was interesting going from that to when the scheduling department started applying lean, and this was a required read for everyone in the scheduling department, 2-second lean. When we started applying these principles, our meetings started going amazing. We were getting way more done. We started using Scrum. We started using Last Planner. We started using Tact. We started using all these things. And when we started doing that, everything went better. We would have our huddles or our tactical meetings or our strategic meetings, right? We invited people to those meetings to see how good meetings are run. And the CEO of the company said that the scheduling department was the best ran department in the company. So we went from the redheaded stepchildren to the best ran department in the company because of these principles, because of, well, how can we improve? Our meetings suck. So how do we improve? And my dear friend Patrick Lencioni, which Felipe has some beef with, he helped. Like there was some great learning in the Death by Meeting book that we spent time, because it's like, where's our blind spots, right? And so once we got to that point, it's like, okay, how do we elevate ourselves? Just like Paul says, invite someone in, and you will up your game just because you want to make sure that you have everything nailed down, right? So allowing people to see what you're doing will heighten your awareness, because you know that it's going to be under some scrutiny because people are going to be watching. And then you also, that people in that group, they'll have that sense of, well, we're doing something amazing, right? And it makes for such an amazing culture shift away from, well, I'm just doing this because it's my job, to, I really, really do take pride. I wake up in the morning excited. I have time to do my job, all these things. It really is a domino effect of just awesomeness.
Oh, beautiful. So zoom back. Now we see where we are in our journey. We're going to cross and follow the road here. And then we come to any questions. If we let the journey continue, you see you've got options. people, you could get out there and, like I always say at the end of my shows, let's go build for sure. Or you can take a detour, come to this campground, do a little bit of reflection. The choice is yours. We're going to open it up to questions from the chat. And as we do, Spencer is looking at the chat to determine who is going to win the book. Spencer, what do you want to highlight from the chat? What did you like? Call some people out and see what kind of engagement did we really like here. And I like Justin is going to share some improvements soon. I like that, Justin. That's committed language right there, Adam. Adam, he is committed to sharing. I love that Adam's watching right now in via the live stream here.
So Justin also said further up, which I really loved, it's so easy in construction management to say, we'll start doing this on the next project. We'll start doing something on the next project, right? It's like, I see how that would apply, but we're already going here. Like we'll do that at the beginning of the next project. And then he followed up with, it takes a lot of effort to implement a new process midstream, but being humble and realizing change is needed for the first step. This is absolutely true. Absolutely money. That probably is my favorite comment thus far.
There you go. So Justin, unless he comes up with something else, send a direct message to Spencer. You're like, how can I do that? Because I think that's probably going to be the winner. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to continue learning, I will give the link to the mural. Connect with Spencer on social media if you haven't already done so. Connect with me. People, don't be scared to hit the connect button. I know the follow button is on default on LinkedIn, but you can definitely hit the connect button under the additional options. So get in touch with us. We are happy to share our journey with Lean. Our information's there. Spencer, you want to give a plug to your new course?
So I've been developing a new course. I'm following in Felipe's footsteps. He has a couple courses now. And for anyone that is on a journey and looking to improve flow on your construction project, I have a new course about tact planning and tact control. And if you're interested, reach out. It is live right now. It's in beta test. So if you want, kind of first in and have access to it up front, it is live right now. So we'll get you hooked up and go from there. And for anyone interested, I'm also doing a implementation year-long subscription. So if you're interested in learning and having access to me for an entire year, I guarantee it's going to be the best solution for you if you want to be applying these types of principles on your project.
That's incredible. There you go. And I've got, of course, I've got people, no surprise. I love Scrum. Scrum courses are live 24/7, 365 for you to get after. And in every single course, I made sure to make content available for free so that you can get after it yourself. And of course, pick up the book, Construction Scrum, if you've already done so, or at least listen to Chapter 9, the audiobook narrated by yours truly, breaking down the Scrum guide into design and construction vernacular so that you could get out there, like Spencer said, and get some more flow in your life. So I'm going to play us out, Spencer. Justin, make sure you connect. Shout out to Shelly. Shelly, thank you for being the first person in the chat today. I appreciate you. Shelly and I started at Bolt on the same day, Spencer. What a coincidence. Almost 6 months to the day anniversary. We connected to talk about Lean. She's got an amazing background in lean manufacturing. And of course, I am a student of lean, all places, manufacturing, construction, everywhere. I love that so much. Last word, Spencer, before I play out the outro. You get the last words, buddy.
Never settle for what you did yesterday, and only compare yourself to how you did yesterday, not to somebody else. That's it.
Very special thanks to my guest. I'm Felipe Engineer Manriquez. The EBFC show is created by Felipe and produced by a passion to build easier and better. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, everybody. Let's go build.